Hello. So this is we're going to continue off on the GED Math Exam 2. So this is going to be part 2. So let's continue off on question 16. Okay. So we stopped in question 16. Okay. So let's continue. Uh, Question 16 says, hold on. Y plus 3 is a factor. Which of the following polynomials? So we got to factor each one and figure out which one. So let's look at the first one. How do I factor this? So the good news, it's just regular simple factoring. Uh, so if you need, this is called simple factoring. So if you need a refresher in factoring, check out the supplementary videos on factoring. So over here, we're going to put a y here and a y there. And then what two numbers multiply -3 and when added gives you -2. So maybe 3 and 1. And then I'll use -3 and +1. Okay, so it's obviously not this one because we want a y plus 3. What about the second one? Let's factor this out if we can. So you're going to put a y here, y there. What two numbers multiply 3 and add it gives you -4, so -1 and -3. No, we want a y plus 3, so that won't. What about here? Okay, so how do we factor this? Y cubed plus 3y squared minus y minus 3. You're going to have to do some grouping by factoring because there's 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's what we're going to do. So you split into two parts, right? Y cubed plus 3y squared. It looks like you could factor out a y square. So this is going to be y plus 3. And then over here, the second part, -y minus 3. It looks like you could factor out -1. So this is going to be y plus 3. Hello. So now you see repeat. So that means it works. So you write out for grouping by factoring, you write out the repeat once. And then bring down your leftover, which is y squared minus 1, right? So this is the 1. Okay, so this is the 1 because we need a factor y plus 3. So this one works. So Roman numeral 3. And then what about this one? So in this one, you also have to do grouping by factoring because there's 4 terms. So split it into two parts. Wait, can you say this? Okay, hold on. Should I zoom in? How? Yeah, I think this is good. So y cubed plus 3y squared, what can you factor? A y square. So it's going to be y plus 3. And then -4y minus 3, you can factor out in -4. And then this is going to be y uh, plus 3. And as you can see, the y plus 3 repeats, so you can write it out once. And then you have our leftover y squared minus 4. As you can see, y plus 3 is a factor. So it will have to be Roman numeral 3 and 4, so C and D, right? So Roman numeral 3 and Roman numeral 4, so that's why it's letter C. Question 17, consider the following histogram, which shows the daily distance traveled by the number of employees from their home office. So on the x-axis, it's the distance traveled, and on the y, it's the number of employees, right? The question says the sum of the number of employees who travel less than 6 kilometers. So we got to count out how many people will travel less. So from here to here is our range. So from a 0 to 2, we can use this range. We can use this one, and then we can also use this. So how many people are from who travel 0 to 2 distance? 7. What about this range? How many people travel from 2 to 4? 8. And then the last range is this one. How many people travel from 4 to 6? 4. So if you put it all together, 7 plus 8 plus 4 is 19. Okay, question 18. Simplify the expression on negative x cubed plus 7 times this equals to this. So negative x cubed plus 7 times 2x squared plus 4 minus 5x equals x minus 2 cubed minus 5x squared. So we got to do is get one side 0. So what I'm going to do here is do this part first. Because that looks like the hardest, because the left side you just have to FOIL it out and clean it up, right? So what is x minus 2 to the third power? Uh, you don't want to do the long way. No, you don't. What you want to do is do the shortcut. So the shortcut is this, parentheses a minus b cubed equals a cubed minus b cubed minus 3 a squared b plus 3ab squared. Okay, so all we got to do is figure out our a and our b. So my a looks like it's x, and my b looks like it's, don't worry about the minus, it's always positive, so it's 2. And then all we got to do is put it in the formula, and you're good to go. So a cubed, so a is going to be x cubed minus, my b is 2, so it's minus 2 cubed minus 3, and then a is x square, and then b is 2 plus 3 times a, which is x. B is 2. So let me clean that up. So x cubed is x cubed. 2 cubed is 2, 4, 8. So that's minus 8, right? You have x squared and then negative 3. Okay, so you have a negative 3x squared times 2. That's going to be negative 6x squared. And then this is going to be plus uh, 2 squares, 4 times by 3, that's 12. That's 12x. And then you have a minus 5x squared. And then over here on the left side, what I would do is just FOIL this out. Don't forget about this minus cube. So FOIL that out. So that's going to be 14x squared. 7 times 4 is 28. And then 7 times negative 5 is negative 35x. And then you have this minus x cubed. So it's going to be minus x cubed. Hold on, let me get a calculator because you can use a calculator on this one. Okay, so negative x cubed, and then you have a negative, or you have a positive 14x squared minus 35x plus 28. Okay, I don't think you can collect like terms, so I think this is the most simplified for the left side. Did I bring, yeah, I brought down that negative x cubed equals, and then over here, I'm going to clean this up before I do anything else. So on the right side, I'm going to clean it up. So start with the highest power x cubed. I don't see any other x cubed. And then I have a negative 6x squared and a negative 5x squared. That is 6 plus 5, negative 11x squared. And then you have that 12x and then that minus 8. And then what we want to do is get one side 0. So I think I'll move everything to the right. So because if you look at all the choices, none of them, the first term is a negative, so I think I'll move everything to the right. So I'm going to add x cubed, add 1x cubed, subtract 14x squared, subtract 14x squared. See how I'm aligning them by their power? Add 35x, add 35x, subtract 28, subtract 28. So 0, 0, 0, 0, zeroed out. So on the left is zeroed out. And then on the right, what's 1x cubed plus 1x cubed? 2x cubed. What's negative 11x squared and a negative 14x squared? Negative 25x squared. What's 12x plus 35? 47x minus 28. Let's see, I must have made a mistake somewhere. But I know the correct answer is A. So we got the 2x cubed right. We got the 47x and we got the negative 36. So, but yeah, so I must have made a mistake somewhere. Yeah, but the correct answer is A. So if you want to redo that one, that's fine. But I do know that the correct answer is A. Okay, so that is a trick. Even I'm in mistakes. So yeah, let's move on because I have to move. There's still other problems we have to do. Okay, question 19. Find the numbers of a three-digit even positive integers that can be made using the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got to figure out three unknown numbers or find the possible. So find the numbers of a three-digit even positive integers that can be made using the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the last number, believe it or not, the last number must be even. Okay, so look at our numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Circle anything that's an even. So 2 is even, 4 is even, 6 is even. So there's a total of three even numbers, right? And then the first digit is any number of the six. So the first number digit can be chose. So between how many possible choices are there of these six numbers? There's one, two, three, four, five, six. There's six numbers. The same thing with the second number. It could be any of those six numbers, so it's going to be six. So it's kind of like a permutation. So it's going to be six. The po total possible numbers are six times three. Whoops, not six, three. Six times six times three is 108. So there could be a total of 108 choices. Okay. Okay. Question 20. Simplify 5 plus 3/5 times 2.5 minus 1/3 plus 0.2 squared. So this is like an order of operation problem, PEMDAS. So let me just write it out again. 5 and then 3/5. I could just write that as 3/5 parentheses 2.5 minus 1/3 plus 0.2 squared. Okay, so I kind of just rewrote it. Uh, yeah, so let's see what we have to do first. Do we have a parentheses? Yes. Uh, you can use a calculator on this one. So what's 2.5 minus 1/3? So 1/3. So go ahead and put that in the calculator exactly. So 2.5 minus the fraction 1 over 3. And it gives me a long decimal. I'm just going to say as 2.166. Okay. Then what I would do is bring down what you haven't done. So I know it's very tempting not to, just bring down what you haven't done. So bring down that 5, bring down that plus 3/5, bring down that plus 0.2 square. Okay. The next order of operation, do we have an exponent? Yes. 0.2 square. So go ahead and put that in the calculator. So 0.2 to the second power is 0.04. Then bring down what you haven't done. I know it's annoying, but that's how you make a mistake by not being careful. So we have an exponent. Then do we have a multiplication? Yes. We have the 3/5 times 2.166. So go ahead and put that in the calculator. So 3 over 5 times 2.166. And I get about 1.2996. Bring down the leftovers. And then we don't have a division. We have an addition. So put that all in the calculator. 5 plus 1.296 plus 0.04 is 6.3396. So which one of these? So I know it's not C or D. It's either A or B. So let's we can use a calculator. So what is 17/5 as a decimal? 1750 is 0.34. So that's six, that's like 6.34. Ooh, I think that's the one because if you round it to two decimals, it is 6.34, right? What about this one? 7 out of 50 is like 0.14. So that's like 6.14. No, that's too small. So it has to be B. Okay, the next question. So it's a word problem. It's a trig or a right triangle trig problem. So question 21 says, if the hypotenuse of one side of a right triangle, oops, if the hypotenuse if the hypotenuse and one side of a right angle triangle are 25 centimeters and 7 centimeters, find the other side. So you can draw your image. So pretend you have this right triangle, and I'm going to use a little box to represent a right triangle. They're saying that the hypotenuse is 25. So put this is the hypotenuse. And how do I know this is the hypotenuse? Because the hypotenuse is always facing directly across the 90-degree or that box symbol. And then, so the hypotenuse is 25, and then one of my leg is 7. So you could put 7 here or 7 there. It doesn't matter. What we got to do is find this missing leg. So now what we're going to do is use Pythagorean theorem because it is a right triangle, right? So A and B are legs, C is a hypotenuse. So one of my leg is 7, so you could say 7 square. My other leg, I'm not sure. I'll call it, I don't know. You can call it B, X, whatever. C is my hypotenuse, which is 25 square. So 7 square is 49 plus B square. And then 25 square is 625. Solve for B by subtracting 49 from both sides. You get B square equals to 625 minus 49 is 576. Take the square root of both sides and you get 14. Wait, let me double check. No, square root of 576 is not 14, it is 24. Okay, so this missing leg is 24 inches or centimeters. Okay, so this is a Pythagorean right triangle and Pythagorean theorem. Okay, question 22. Evaluate the algebraic expression 5a squared minus 3a when a is equal to 2. So all I could do is just plug in, so I could rewrite this as 5, and then I'm going to replace my a with 2. So it's 5 parentheses 2 squared minus 3 times 2. And if you have a calculator, you could put this exactly like this in the calculator and you'll have your answer. And I believe it's 14. But if you don't have a calculator, you could just do this one by one using order of operation, pandas. So let's see. Do we have a parentheses? We do, but there's nothing you can do inside that parentheses. Do we have an exponent? Yes, I see 1. What is 2 squared? That's 4. And bring down your leftovers. Do we have a multiplication? We have 2. 5 times 4 is 20. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. We don't have a division. We don't have addition, but we do have a subtraction. 20 minus 6 is 14. Okay, so that's 22. Okay, this one is kind of a bit strange, but it's not really. So 23 says a wire has a length of 80 centimeters. If the wire is bent in the form of a circle, so you have this straight horizontal wire, and if it was bent to a circle, then find the area of the circle. Use pi as 22 over 7. So it was a bit strange when I first did this one. So pretend you have this straight horizontal wire and it is exactly 80 centimeters. Then imagine using the same wire and bending it into turning it into a circle, but this length is still 80 centimeters. So this is now a circumference. So we have two formulas we have to use. The circumference of a circle, which is c equals 2 times pi times r. So this is given, but you have to know that this represents the circumference of a circle. And then we have to talk about area of a circle. So area of a circle is pi times r squared. That formula should be given, but you have to know that this represents the area of a circle. Okay, now we just fill in the blanks. So let's start with the circumference. They tell us that this entire horizontal wire is 80 centimeters, but it's bent into a circle. So that means your circumference is still 80. And then it's 2 times pi, but they said don't use pi as pi. They say replace it with 22 over 7 times it by r. So what's 2 times 22 over 7? That is 44 over 7 times it by r, and then you have 80. And then solve for r by getting rid of this 44 over 7 by multiplying by 7 over 44, 7 over 44. And when you get it, you get r equals 560 over 44. Okay, so that's my radius. Now, what is it asking you? Find the area of the circle. So this is why we're going to use this formula. So it's going to be a equals pi, but they say don't use pi. They say replace it with 22 over 7. And then my radius is 560 over 44 squared. So when you put this in the calculator, you're going to get 509.1 centimeters squared. Okay, so that's letter D. Okay, 24. So on 24, this is a two, they're asking for two answers. So 24 says Sarah is planning a trip. She budgeted $50 for accommodation and wants to save an additional amount X for spending money during her trip. She also knows that she will need to set aside $20 dollars for transportation. If Sarah's total budget for the trip is 200, then the algebraic expression is choose A, B, or C, and the amount of money should have, and the amount of money it choose D, E, or F. Okay, so the first part of the question, we can only choose A, B, or C. And then the second part, we can only choose D, E, or F, right? So let's start with the first one. So she has she has a budget of $50, and then she needs to set aside $20 for transportation, and then she wants to save an additional amount of X. So really, that could be expressed as 50. Whoops. 50 plus X plus 20, and then she'll have to if Sarah's total budget is 200. So I think that's our first part. So I think that would be letter B. 50 plus X plus 20 equals 200. And then the second part, solve for X. So 50 plus 20 is 50, 60, 70. 50 plus 20 is 70 plus X equals 200. And then subtract 70 from both sides. You get 200 minus 70, which is 130. So the second part says we can only choose D, E, or F, so it's going to be D. Okay, 25. Uh, oh, this one's was a bit confusing. 25. So 25 says the average grade of all student is 60.5. If the average grade of girls is 60 and boys is 62, then the ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls is. So it's a bit confusing. So what I'm going to do is get some variables and I'm going to label them very carefully. So my first, I could say, I'll say X equals the total number of boys, and then Y will be total number of girls. And then we could say P equals, you can use any letters you like. I'm going to just use P, would be the sum of marks of all boys. And then Q is going to be the sum of mark of all girls. So let's find the mean, the average of boys. So mean of boys is going to be P over X equals 62. And then if you cross multiply, that's going to be P equals 62X. And then let's find the mean of girls. It's going to be Q over Y equals 60. And then if I cross multiply, it's going to be Q equals 60Y. Okay, then what I'm going to do is find the mean of all students, which is 60.5. So mean of all students is 60.5, which can be written as this. P plus Q over X plus Y, right? P is the sum of marks of all boys, and Q is the sum of marks of all girls. X is the total number of boys over plus the total number of girls. And we'll set that equal to 60.5. Okay. And then we said that P from this part here, P is 62X. And then Q was 60Y, right? From here, Q is 60Y, P is 62X over X plus Y equals to 60.5. And then what we're going to do is cross multiply. So this is going to have be a 1. So 1 times 62. So 1 times this whole thing is 62x plus 60y equals, and then 60.5 times x plus y. So it's going to be 60.5x plus 60.5y. And then on the left is 62x plus 60y. Then what I'll do is subtract, get all the y, so you can subtract 60y here, subtract 60y there, and then subtract 60.5x, subtract 60.5x, and you get 0.5y equals to 1.5x. And then divide this by 0.5, divide this by 0.5. You get y equals 3x. And then I'm going to cross multiply, so this is going to be or what is it? No, actually we want what then the ratio of the number of boys to girls. So boys is, so we need a ratio of x over y, right? So from here we get y equals 3x from doing all the work. And then what I'm going to do is get rid of this y by dividing both sides by y. So you get 1 equals to 3x over y. And 3x over y. And then what I'm going to do is get rid of this 3 by multiplying both sides by 1/3. So this is going to be 1/3 equals x over y. So now that is a ratio of 1 to 3. Okay, so that is letter A. So there was a lot of work for this one. So yeah, if you need a little bit of rewind, go ahead and rewind the video. But yeah, I got letter A. Question 26. If the area of a rectangle is given as 8x squared, 8a squared minus 26a plus 21, then the expression of for the perimeter of the rectangle is that. Click on the variables and the number you want to select and drag them in the box. Okay, so I really don't like these problems. Because sometimes I don't know if they're asking the left or, yeah, I think they're asking for the right. So what we could do, so what they're saying is you have this rectangle, right? So a rectangle is not a square, so their lengths are and widths are different. Um, yeah, so that's the rectangle, and we need two formulas. So we know that the area of a rectangle is length times width. We also need to know the perimeter of a rectangle, which is 2L plus 2W. So these formulas are given, but you need to know that the area of a rectangle is length times width, and the perimeter of a rectangle is 2L plus 2W. Okay. So the good news is what I'm going to do is use this formula, A equals L times W, and then I'm going to replace that L and W. So that's going to be 8A squared minus 26A plus 21. Okay. That was given. The length times width was this. Then what we're going to do is going to have to factor this, or you could set area to 0, and we got to factor this. So what factoring method should I factor 8A squared minus 26A plus 21? So you're going to do bottoms up because the A value is 8. It's no longer 1. So how do you do bottoms up? You're going to rewrite it as A squared minus 26A, and then you're going to multiply A by 21, which is 168. And then I'm going to factor this out using simple factoring. So I'm going to put an A here, an A there. And then what two numbers multiply 168 and when added gives you negative 26? Negative 26. I think I'll use negative 7 and negative 6, right? Okay, then what I'm going to do, remember with bottoms up, you have to divide the negative 7 and the negative 6 by original A value. So divide this negative 7 by 8, divide this negative 6 by 8. So let me write it up here. I'm moving space. So you have A minus 7/8 times A minus 6/8. Then what I'm going to do is try to reduce. If you can't reduce, then do the bottoms up. So 7/8. I don't think 7/8 can be reduced. Oh, I messed up. I messed up right here. So what two numbers multiply 168 and when added gives you negative 26? That was my mistake. That would be A here, A here. So what two numbers multiply 168 and when added gives you negative 26? I believe that will be negative 14 and then negative 12. That's much better. Then what you're going to do is divide the negative 14 by 8, divide the negative 12 by 8. Let me put it here. So it's going to be negative 14 over 8 can be reduced by 2. So 14 over 2 is 7. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then negative 12 over 8 can be reduced by 4. So 12 divided by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 8 divided by 4 is 2. Then you can do bottoms up. So you can't reduce it anymore. So over here, you put the 4 in front of the A. So that's going to be 4A minus 7. And then over here, put the 2 in front of the A. So that's going to be 2A minus 3. Okay, so we factor this. So what this 4A minus 7 and the 2A minus 7 represents your length and the width. So this 4A minus 7 is your length. This 2A minus 3 is your width. Now let's find the per meter. So per meter is 2L plus 2W. So we said our L was 4A minus 7 plus 2W, which is 2A minus 3. So when you clean this up, this is going to be 2 times 4A is 8A, 2 times negative 7 is negative 14, 2 times 2A is 4A, 2 times negative, what is that? A negative 3. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So then you can clean this up. So 8A plus 4A is 12A, negative 17 plus negative 6 is negative 20. So that's what we're going to put in our box. So it's going to be 12 here, right? A here, and then we don't need a minus because there's a minus right here. So you just need that 20. And then I think we didn't use the 10. 27 says, which of the following graphs does not show a proportional relationship? So look at all our graphs. They're all linear. And when I first thought this, I figured, aren't they all proportional because they're linear or uh, they must have the same slope, but it's actually neither. So yeah, they're all linear, but that doesn't mean they're proportional. And they all have a constant slope. That doesn't mean it's proportional. What you got to do is, here, let me write this out. So a proportional relationship has a constant, I mean, in a proportional relationship, the ratio of the two quantities remains constant. So go ahead and write this on your notes. So in a proportional, remain constant. So that doesn't mean it's linear. It doesn't mean the slope has to be the same. Um, what you got to do is look at the coordinates, and then if you see here, so it's letter D. This letter D is the only one that isn't proportional. So what? This is why. So why isn't it not proportional? Isn't it linear and isn't the slope the same? Yes. I did this one and the slopes are definitely the same. But that doesn't really matter in a proportional. What matters is the coordinates. So this is why it's D. So if you look at it, make a table, and for example, if you use the point through this point right here, that's 3 comma 2. And then if you use this point, that's 6 comma 3. And if you use this point, that's 9 comma 4. And then if you use this point, that's 12 comma 5. There's no proportional relationship. So from 3 to 2, what'd you have to do? You would probably have to subtract 1. From 6 to 3, you probably had to subtract 3. See, these has to be the same. So yeah, that's why it's not proportional. So from 3 to 2, you had to subtract 1. From 6 to 3, you had to subtract 3. From 9 to 4, you had to subtract what? 5. 12 to 5, you had to subtract something. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, subtract 6. These have to be the same. -1, -3, -5, -6. They're not the same. So that's why it's D. Which of the following is equivalent to the form of the expression 7 over 3x minus 1 minus 2 over x plus 3 minus 3x minus 1. So they want you to simplify this. And when you're adding fractions or subtracting, you need what's called an LCD. Okay, so you have 7 over 3x minus 1 minus 2 over x plus 3 minus 2 over 3x minus 1, right? So the good news, if you look at the bottom, they're all in the most premise form. So 3x minus 1, don't think of it as one term. Think of it as parentheses 3x minus 1 to the power of 1. the same thing with x plus 3. Don't think of it as two terms. Think of it as parentheses x plus 3 to the power of 1. And then 3x minus 1 could be, don't think of it as two terms. Think of it as parentheses 3x minus 1 to the power of 1. Okay, so yeah. Um, so when you add or subtract, you need LCD. So the good news is they're all different bases and they're all in the primus form. So your LCD is, because they're all in the most primus form in different bases, your LCD is just the mixture of those. So it's going to be 3x minus 1 times x plus 3 times 3x minus 1. Okay. Um, right. So what we're going to do is, so on the bottom, you could just put your LCD. So just on the bottom here, on the bottom, put your LCD. Do not FOIL it out, just write it out as 3x minus 1 times x plus 3 times 3x minus 1 because um, something might cancel when you do the dot top. So let's do the left side. So let's look at this side. 3x minus 1, what are we missing? We're missing an x plus 3 and a 3x minus 1. And we got to times it by 7. And the same thing here. Be careful, there's a minus. So it's going to be, you're going to distribute that minus over here. We have an x plus 3. So what are we missing for our LCD? We need a 3x minus 1. And what else? Oh, I see that 3x minus 1 repeats. I didn't even see this. Right. So also one more point. If you have a repeating base, which we do, my I made a mistake. So yeah, let me stop right here. I made a mistake. That's on our LCD. So look at the bottom. It's in the most primus form and can't be broken down. Do you see a repeating base? Yes, I see this base of 3x minus 1 as a repeating base because I see it here and I also see it there, right? So the key is if you have a repeating base, you pick the one with the highest power since they're both to the power 1. Um, you just pick the 3x minus 1 to the power 1. And then you have a non-repeating base of x plus 3. Okay, so this is finding LCD. So if you need a refresher on that, yeah, if you need a refresher to find the LCD, that's it. Okay, so let's go back here. So on the bottom, you could just put your LCD, which is parentheses 3x minus 1 times x plus 3. Do not FOIL it out, leave it as it is, because maybe something might cancel or not. Or actually, yes, I think we should FOIL it out because look at the choices on the bottom. They FOIL it out. So let's FOIL the bottom real quick. So this is going to be, what's 3x times x? 3x squared. What's 3x times 3? That is 9x. What's negative 1 times x? Negative x. What's negative 1 times 3? Negative 3. So on the bottom, it's going to be 3x squared. 9x minus 1x is 8x. And then you have a minus 3. Is there any one that you can delete? No, because they all have this 3x squared plus 8x minus 3. Yeah, that looks, you can't eliminate for right now. Okay, so that's going to be in the bottom. Now on the top, you're going to do some algebra. So let's start on the further left. If our LCD is 3x minus 1 times x plus 3, what are we missing? We are missing an x plus 3, right? And then let's do the middle part. If we have an x plus 3 here, what are we missing? For our LCD, we are missing a 3x minus 1. And then over here, we have a 3x minus 1. So what are we missing? An x plus 3. Okay, so be careful because you're going to do some foiling. And then if you have a minus, make sure you distribute that minus. So what's x plus 3 times 7? Let me write that out. So it will be 7x plus 21. And then over here, I'm going to FOIL out this 2, then distribute this minus. So it's going to be 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. So then distribute that minus, so that's going to be negative 6x plus 2, right? Because a negative times a negative is a positive. Now do the same thing here, FOIL out this 2, so that's going to be 2x plus 6, and then distribute that minus, so that's going to be negative 2x minus 6. Okay, now clean up the top, so start with the highest power. So you can collect this 7x, this negative 6x, and then this negative 2x. What is that going to be? That's negative 1x. And then you have the constant. You have a 21, a 2, and a negative 6. That's 17. Oh, I think it's A, right? On the numerator, it's negative 1x plus 17. Whoops, no, that's not it. Negative 1x plus 17. I think it's B. Negative 1x plus 17. On the bottom, you have 3x squared plus 8x minus 3. Hold on. This is, yes, it is definitely letter B. Okay. So if you need a refresher on how to find the LCD, go ahead and check out the supplementary videos on LCD. Oops. Let me see. I think I'm just going to stop right here. Yeah, I'm going to stop here. So we stopped off on question 29. So here, let me put a little bookmark. Yeah, so 29. So I'm going to stop here. There'll be like a third, maybe a fourth video. Let's see.